Since President Putin's invasion of Ukraine more than 2 years ago, there's been a crackdown in Russia on anyone expressing anti-war views. Even everyday conversations can have dire consequences. Russians are reporting fellow citizens to the police, with some facing long prison terms. It's revived grim memories of the Soviet past, when denouncing colleagues and neighbours was widespread. Our Russia editor Steve Rosenberg reports.
Nadezhda Buyanova is a doctor, but you'll find her in court, not the clinic. The 68-year-old paediatrician faces 10 years in prison, accused of spreading fake news about the Russian army. Nadezhda tells me, I read about this kind of thing happening to others. I never imagined it would happen to me. The story began at this Moscow medical centre. A patient's mother claimed that the doctor had told her Russian soldiers in Ukraine are legitimate targets. The woman recorded an angry video. Her ex-husband had been killed fighting in Ukraine. Then she wrote this denunciation of the doctor to police. It was enough to put her on trial. 400 miles away. Different trial, same charges. Near St. Petersburg, hairdresser Anna Alexandrova had fallen out with her neighbour Irina over a plot of land in their village. Their family feud led to Anna being reported and accused of posting messages critical of the war in Ukraine. She faces up to 15 years in prison. Any regrets from the other side? I feel sorry for her, says Irina's mother, Natalia. I don't want her to get a long sentence. I want her to receive a just punishment, says Irina. Across the country, there are reports of Russians informing on Russians. One thing Russia's war in Ukraine has done here is turbocharge the hunt for internal enemies, for alleged traitors. And it's in this atmosphere of us against them that you get neighbour snitching on neighbour, students informing on their teachers, professors on students, and even parishioners denouncing priests.
But one thing Stalin did not give them, their freedom.
Sounds familiar. Under Soviet dictator Joseph Stalin, denunciation was actively encouraged. The prison camps, the Gulag, were full of victims who'd been snitched on by their fellow citizens.
What I find really remarkable is how quickly Russian genetic memory has come back. How things that people who didn't live in those times suddenly act as if they did. Suddenly they are squealing on others. Yes, it is a Soviet practice, but it's also something about the Russian genetic code of fear, of trying to protect themselves at the expense of others.
And in this atmosphere, look what's happening. Some Russians are taking the law into their own hands. On a Moscow bus, two men attack 87-year-old Dmitry Grinchin. They say they overheard him insulting Russian mercenaries fighting in Ukraine.
He
lunged at me, flashing his eyes and gnashing his teeth, as if he wanted to bite me. He called over his son, a big guy, who pressed his finger into my arm to hurt me. I've got bruises here and here.
The two men forced Dmitry off the bus and dragged him to the police. He wasn't charged, but the incident has left Dmitry shaken and angry.
The Russian constitution says that everyone has the right to free speech. Why should others get to say what they think and not me?
Under Stalin, Dmitry's father was arrested and executed, an innocent man. Russia's past is a painful one, but it's the present that worries Dmitry, with Russia once again searching for enemies and agents and heading in a dangerous direction. Steve Rosenberg, BBC News, Moscow.